Hello, law firms, and welcome. My name is James Abbott, and as I mentioned in the email I sent to you, this is a re-edit of a webinar I did a while back. I had it edited way down so I can use it as a marketing video. I'm going to do my best to keep this between about 10 and 15 minutes or so, and over that time I'm going to show you the single best new client generation process for law practices today. And what I mean by best is these three things. It's the best strategy in terms of lead volume. It's the best strategy in terms of lead quality and, all important, cost per lead. So congratulations on clicking through. I think you did the right thing. And here's why I say that. Whether you go past this video or not, whether we ever do business together or not, what you will take away from the next few minutes is going to be well worth your time. I don't do fluff and salesy videos. I actually loathe the idea of being dragged onto a webinar that really doesn't give any value and just keeps trying to sell. I prefer actually earning your respect and your trust by illustrating what I know and what I've been able to do for others. So in this video I'm going to elaborate in a pretty good amount of detail each piece of this client generation strategy, why it works well, but only when each piece is done in a certain way, and why those of you who have used this in the past and didn't have success, because some of you watching this right now absolutely have had that situation, well, you'll come away understanding why that happened too and what you need to tweak to make it work the way it works for my clients. So my promise to you is if you hang around for a few minutes here, you'll come away knowing what the most effective lead gen strategy for law firms is today, and you'll see the details behind what makes each step work or completely fail. So let's get going. It would be customary typically at this point, I think, to tell you a bit about myself, but I'm not going to. The fact is, you don't really care who I am, really, until you get to the point where maybe you're saying, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. This is interesting. Then, yes, maybe you'll want to know a bit about me. So I'll be very happy to tell you all about myself, but I'll address that toward the end of the video. Right now, I just want to jump in and get the details of this strategy. So let's go. The strategy I'm referring to begins with Google AdWords. Now, those of you who know AdWords or who have used it in the past, and many of you are even using it right now, it's you folks who need to watch the next few minutes the most, because AdWords is a really curious beast. It is simultaneously the best source of targeted traffic that you're ever going to find, but it's also the most tricky. I'd even go so far as to say the most sneaky advertising platform that there is out there. Now, I'm not going to elaborate what I mean by sneaky on this video, but any of you that want to chat afterwards, ask me what I mean. I'll be happy to explain what I mean by that. Now, let me tell you how most law firms use AdWords. And by the way, for those of you who are not familiar with AdWords, AdWords is Google's paid ads that appear right here when you do a search. These are paid ads, but they are paid ads with a very unique set of rules. Rules that decide who gets the top spots, and rules that determine how much you pay when someone clicks that ad. And just a little teaser for those of you who are paying $12, $15, even $20, $25 a click or more, because that's what the law firm clicks typically cost. My clients pay right now an average of $8.20 a click. So more on how we do that in a second. Before I elaborate AdWords a little more, let me show you the second half of the formula. So AdWords is the first half. It's your traffic source. And there's a whole lot to setting it up the right way, but again, first let's look at the second piece of the puzzle, and that's the contents of your landing page. Now, most law firms send traffic to their homepage of their website, and that's a big mistake. That mistake alone often spells the difference between paying $75 to get a new client or, $675 to get a new client. And I'm going to end this video today with some of the math behind that, some of those metrics, behind the proper approach to lead generation today. So, two easy pieces to the puzzle: AdWords as your traffic source and a properly built landing page that captures a warm lead. Now the important part. Let's look behind the curtain at some of the many absolutely critical details involved in these two steps. Folks, I've seen hundreds and hundreds of AdWords campaigns over the last 10 years, and I'll tell you this. While AdWords is in fact not good for every industry, it will not work as a lead generation tool in certain industries. But that said, when you're in an industry that is known to be good for AdWords, like law firms, the difference between a successful campaign and one that fails miserably is in these small details of, number one, your AdWords campaign, and number two, the landing page. And if you're paying more than $8 or $9 a click right now, and if you're not converting traffic to new leads and new business in a very, very cost-effective manner, heck, if you don't even know what your cost for a new client is precisely, if you don't measure those metrics, then you're going to really benefit from this little video. So let's look at some of these details right now. Now, the first thing to understand is what we call message continuity. So consider this. Someone sits down and types into Google, divorce lawyers, Seattle. And let me just point out the power of that. The power of being able to get an ad in front of someone who just went looking on the internet for a divorce lawyer right in the city you practice in. I mean, it's so powerful. It's amazing to me. Still really. Okay, so if your ad looks something like this, then great. And when that person clicks on this ad and it takes them to a page like this, it's all pretty good. There was what we call message continuity throughout. That is, the theme of the ad that was served matched the search phrase, divorce lawyers Seattle, and then the landing page contents matched that same theme as well. But here's where most AdWords advertisers go wrong. You see, that kind of continuity needs to be there for every single search phrase in your campaign. And by the way, a properly set up campaign has many hundreds of search phrases, sometimes thousands of search phrases, also called keywords. Keywords that are like, for instance, custody, child custody, alimony payments, divorce asset division, custody dispute lawyer, family law attorneys, and the list goes on and on and on. Now, you want your ads to show for all those search phrases, right? And by the way, those are all real keywords, real search phrases that your clients use when they sit down and search on Google every single day. And there are thousands more like those. So you need to know how to choose good keywords, the right keywords. But back to our continuity point, if someone searches Google for divorce asset division, let's say, and then your ad comes up looking like this, you are most likely not going to get clicked. Not if there's an ad on the page that looks like this. You see how this ad exactly matches the topic that was searched? So ads need to match searches. And then to continue continuity, the landing page, after someone clicks an ad, needs to match as well. If we click this ad and it takes us to your website's homepage, well then we've lost the opportunity to continue that conversation about asset division. The very conversation that was started, remember, by the consumer himself or herself when they went searching online. Continuity is a critical concept when you're using AdWords. Now that I've mentioned continuity, let's look at a few more details about setting up your Google AdWords campaign properly. Continuity is actually a really good segue into the topic of AdWords details because continuity is one of the many things that Google rewards. Now, what do I mean by rewards? Well, Google rewards better campaigns with cheaper click costs and better ad positions. Now, let me repeat that. The better your AdWords campaign is, and I'm going to explain what we mean by better in a second, the less you actually pay for every click or every visitor, and your ad also shows a higher position on the page, which means it gets clicked more than those ads that fall below. A lot of people don't realize this. They think that they simply need to outbid all the other folks who have ads competing for those same search phrases, those same keywords. They think the higher the bid and the more they spend with Google, that's how you win higher ad position. And nothing could be farther from the truth. Understand one thing, folks. Google's #1 focus with their AdWords product, first and foremost, is to give the person searching a page full of results, search results that are as relevant as possible to what he was searching for. And so, as an example, if your ad shows, let's say, 500 times today, and it gets clicked on 20 times, and your competitor's ad also showed 500 times today, but he only got clicked on, say, 10 times, well, that tells Google something really important. That tells Google that something about your ads is more compelling than your competitor, or more relevant, or more interesting. And we call this a click-through rate. And if you have a better click-through rate, it is one of the most influential things on your quality score, and ultimately on how much you pay per click. Now, I can't possibly go into every element that leads to a stellar quality score. I'd need a much longer webinar than this one, but I will put some of these elements on the screen for you, for those of you who are more familiar with AdWords. But the point is, a successful law firm AdWords campaign needs all these things set up exactly right, because click costs in the legal industry are among the highest on AdWords. But remember, high click costs does not mean that AdWords doesn't work for law firms. There are way too many law firms using AdWords quite brilliantly each day. It works, believe me. But what it does mean is you need to be able to get, #1, the absolute best click price possible. And number 2, the best conversion rate possible, if you hope to build yourself a new client machine, I like to call it, using AdWords. Now number 2, their conversions, brings me to the landing page half of the formula. So let's look at some of the elements of a high converting landing page. And by the way, what I mean by a conversion is it's what we call when someone leaves their contact info for you to get back to them, or when they actually phone in. It's a lead, it's a potential client for you. And the landing page is where conversions happen, or don't happen, depending on landing page contents. So remember earlier I gave an example where someone goes to Google and searches divorce asset division, and instead of a generic ad popping up about how awesome your law firm is, you understand continuity and your ad looks like this. So if you win that click and you get yourself a hot new visitor, here's an example of a landing page that converts really, really well in this industry. Now remember, most lawyers send that click to their homepage, or if they're a little more in the know on what they're doing, they send the traffic to a page on their website that talks about asset division. But you need more. Remember, you want a conversion from this. You want a new lead to speak to. And the best way to get a new lead is to give this visitor something they need, something of real value, on the very topic that they went searching for. In this case, the division of assets during a divorce. I mean, imagine that you're the one searching on info for that topic. Which website has a better chance of grabbing your attention? The homepage of a generic-looking law firm website that has all the same old stuff as all the others, or a page that you land on that has info about asset division and a comprehensive report that you can download for free that has a name something like the 3 biggest mistakes people make in high asset divorces, or something along those lines. And all you have to do to get that report is just leave your info in the little form there and click download. This landing page, folks, gets many multiples more leads than other landing pages do. It's a great converter. Free information, free phone consultations, etc. These are the things that are still the best converters today. But every detail needs to be set up just so. Now here's just a few of the important landing page elements that I'm talking about. Everything, for instance, everything needs to happen above the fold. That's what we call without having to scroll down. Everything needs to happen above the fold when you land on that page. The form itself needs to have just the right number of fields. I see so many forms with way too many fields in it. People just don't fill those in. You paid for a visitor and you lost the visitor. Another element, your landing page can't have too much text. The page can't be too busy. Can't have too much, but it does have to have the right amount, just enough to sell that download, that opt-in. Your page must have a relevant image, and by the way, this silly little arrow here also increases conversions. That's what we geeky marketers do all day long. We call it split testing. We send equal amounts of traffic to 2 landing pages that are identical in every way except for one detail, like this arrow, for instance, simply to see which of the 2 landing pages, which of those 2 approaches converts better after 1,000 or a couple of thousand clicks. So all these details together increase your conversion performance to the point where you're paying way, way less to get a new lead. Let me say one last thing now that I've noticed about law firm websites, and this isn't exclusive to law firm websites. There's other industries I see this as well, financial planners, for instance. But too many law firms have websites and ad campaigns that make the mistake of trying to get a new client. Now, you should be thinking to yourself right now, well, of course, that's the whole point of it all. What else should the website do? What else should our marketing do? Well, here's the answer to that. Instead of trying to get a new client, your website should be trying to capture a new lead. Everything about your campaigns and your website should be establishing trust and credibility and all that good stuff, yes. But with that presumably established, what you want now from your website is a new lead to speak to. Asking someone to make a decision about which law firm to choose in the most difficult time of their lives is a big thing. And you all, of course, know this. And I'm here to tell you that it's too big of a decision, too big of a job to leave to the text on your website. Your clients need to speak to a person. You're going to have a much, much easier time if your goal is simply to get someone to leave their contact details or maybe generate a phone call. And while many of you are thinking, well, sure, we know that, well, despite knowing it, your websites and your marketing campaigns are not currently optimized to just get leads. They're instead trying to sell a new client on why they should choose you over the competition, why you're better, how long you've been practicing, etc. But your goal is really just to get on the phone with a new prospect. And I'm willing to bet that everyone watching this webinar has a pretty good closing rate once you're on the phone with people. So you really just need more leads to call. You really just need to focus all your marketing efforts on lead capture. And again, while that makes sense to most folks I speak to, your websites and marketing efforts do not currently reflect that. Now I'm going to end with some numbers, some conversion metrics that illustrate why these details are so important and the impact they have on the cost of acquiring a new client through the marketing funnel I've been describing here. It also illustrates, by the way, the importance of measuring these metrics in the first place. I'm always amazed at how many clients I speak to that can't answer me when I ask, how much do you pay for one lead, one conversion? Or how many leads do you need before you get one new client? Folks, anyone that is spending any money on advertising should always be able to answer, how many new clients did you get last month from campaign XYZ, and what did that cost? We refer to it as cost per client. And it looks like this. Pretty simple, really. It doesn't need to be complicated, but it does need to be measured. So this is the simple spreadsheet I use. This is the tool we use to measure the important metrics of a pay-per-click campaign. And as you can see, there don't need to be a lot of fields. There are really only 1, 2, 3 fields here that are important to measure. I'll go through them really quickly. Cost per click, of course, means what does it cost when someone clicks. This is what this could also be called cost per visitor. When someone clicks, you have a visitor. Once you have those visitors and they're on your landing page, what is the form opt-in rate? The form I'm referring to, of course, is your opt-in form shown here. And so for all the visitors that you're buying, how many of them go ahead and leave their contact info? That will show you your cost per lead, what it costs to actually get a lead. And then the final criteria that's important is the client conversion rate. And so for all the leads that we have purchased here, leads meaning visitors that then converted to become a lead, that left their contact info, how many of those go ahead and convert and become a client? How many of those that you speak to on the phone are you able to convert to clients? And that will give you your cost per client. Now, as you can see, I've put some default numbers in here just to show you how impacting changing any and all of these criteria can be. Right now we have cost per client of $5,000, which is, I don't mind telling you, pretty high for the law firm industry. So let's just go ahead and play with some of these and see what it does to our cost per client. If you're not paying $15 for a click, let's say you're paying $10 for a click, let's see what that does. Right away our cost per client jumps down to $3,333. Now that form opt-in rate, this is usually a pretty impacting one. What if we don't get only 2% opt-in rate? What if we get 4% opt-in rate? And let me say, for those of you who are not terribly familiar with internet marketing, a quote-unquote good opt-in rate is anywhere between about 2%, 1 to 2%, depending on the industry, all the way up to around 8 or 9%. If you're anywhere in there between 2 and 8, although that may seem kind of dismal to those of you who are not as familiar with online marketing, that's actually pretty good. If you're between 2 and 8% kind of range, that's actually a really good opt-in rate. Why so low? Largely because remember that the people who have searched for a particular search phrase, like say, divorce lawyer in Sarasota, remember that they have many search results that appear on the page. If they've clicked yours and now they're at a point where they like what they see but they're being asked for their contact info, they don't always just go ahead and fill in that form straight away. Oftentimes they want to explore some of the other results that were on that Google page. And many of them go ahead and come back and then decide to fill in your form and get that report or whatever the case may be. So again, for those of you that are less familiar with online marketing, I mean between 2 and 8% is known as a pretty darn good opt-in rate. So right now we're at the low end, 2%. Let's say we make that 4%. Let's see what happens to our $3,000 client acquisition cost. Let's make this 4%. Obviously it's cut in half. Now we're paying $1,600 to get a new client. Our cost per lead is now $250 to get a hot lead from the internet. Now this is a pretty big one. Of those leads that have come in, of those people that have left their contact info on your form or perhaps phoned in, how many of those do you convert to being clients? What if it's not 15%? What if it's 20%? Let's see what that does. Well, now you're paying $1,250 to get a new client. What if it's 25%? Now you're paying $1,000 to get a new client. And what if you can get that cost per click down to more like $9? And maybe your form opt-in rate, we can get 1 out of 20, we can get 5%. Again, you see what happens. Your cost per client continues to come down. $700 now to buy a new client. Pretty good. So the point of this exercise, and why I'm ending this webinar with some of these metrics, because this is the way you need to think about your marketing, particularly your online marketing, since when it comes to AdWords and websites, etc., we can track all these details. You need to be aware of these metrics. And once you've decided internally amongst your own team what the maximum tolerable cost per client is, well, then we go about tweaking all these other things in order to make sure that we never surpass what your maximum cost per client is. So that's really all I'm going to say about those metrics. Certainly we go deeper and there's a lot more to it, but I wanted to illustrate kind of the philosophy of buying leads and buying clients through a properly set up online marketing campaign. So I'm just going to end now with an offer to you all. You've watched this whole video, you know how powerful AdWords is, and you know that this is the most cost-effective way to get as many new clients as you want to. Now, everyone watching this is going to be in one of 3 categories. You're either doing AdWords right now, or number 2, you've done AdWords in the past but you aren't doing it any longer, or number 3, you've never done AdWords at all before. And my offer to you covers all 3 of these situations, and that is simply to click the button here below that says, click here to see James' calendar. If you click that button, you'll be looking at my live and current schedule, and you can go ahead and pencil yourself in for a quick phone chat right there at that link. Nice and simple. Now let me be clear about why this is the easiest and smartest next step for you. It's because whichever category you're in, you have questions. What does James charge? Will this work for my law firm? How much do I need to spend with Google? Is there a long-term contract? Can you do better than my current campaign? Etc., etc. And I just want to assure you here and now, folks, I am the easiest guy on the planet to have a chat with. I'm looking for a good fit as much as you are. I actually only work with clients where I'm pretty darn sure ahead of time what the results are going to be. I turn away a good number of folks where I know the fit isn't right. And so me chatting with you benefits me as much as it does you. I get a really good idea what's what after we speak for just a few minutes. So if you already do AdWords and want to see what I might do better, get on my calendar there with the green button below and let's set up a quick call. I'm happy to look right into your campaign and point things out. I usually do that. If you're not doing AdWords right now and you're curious about this process and you want to explore it a bit in a call, let's do that. I'll answer all your questions, and I'm never going to push anyone. You can do whatever you like after we speak. But if you are curious, I'd like to point out this is a free call with a 10-year veteran marketing expert in the exact kind of marketing for your industry. So not a bad thing to get for free, I'd like to think. Okay, enough. We're done. Thank you all so much for your valuable time. I look forward to speaking with each of you. Just click the button there down below and pick your time, and thanks again so much. Speak to you soon.